There is the natural Jew who is born of the covenant people, and then there is the true Jew who lives according to the precepts which made him a Jew in the first place. And that's why Paul can say in Romans 9 through 11 that not everyone of Israel is, I don't want to misquote it, and I'm not going to go back there and get it right now, but not all of Israel are Israel, okay, I think is what he says. Anyway, he's making a point that just because you're born into the people of Israel does not mean that you're a true Israelite. It means that you are of the covenant people. That is your lineage, that is your heritage, but you are not converted. And that goes all the way back to the law of Moses, where he says, speaks of circumcision of the heart in the book of Deuteronomy. And it's repeated by Jeremiah. It's repeated in there, and Paul repeats it here in the New Testament. Circumcision is of the heart, or you're not a true Jew. You're just living your life as a cultural Jew, okay? Circumcision of the flesh identifies their lineage, but circumcision of the heart identifies their standing with God. I talked about that a couple sermons ago, actually several times in the past sermons, is that just because you're circumcised, it does not mean that you are living right. But the Jews take the sign of circumcision and they say, this is my sign, and therefore I'm right with God. And that's not correct. The sign of circumcision is to say you're a part of the covenant people, whether you are right with God or not. The sign of circumcision is not a thing in itself. It points to something else. And if it is not accompanied by that something else in that person, then that sign means nothing. And that's what Paul will write about. We'll continue in Galatians and you'll see that. Circumcision doesn't mean any. And how do you know that's true? Because there are cultures all over the world that do what? Circumcise their people. Circumcision is not anything if it is not accompanied with what it is supposed to be accompanied with, which means a heart for the Lord. Okay? That's the point there. Paul is speaking of the latter when addressing Peter and the other saved Jews. They had given up on works of the law, understanding that Christ was the fulfillment of it, that thus they understood, or they stood in contrast to sinners of the Gentiles.